Let's talk now to Richard Burnett, the Chief Executive of the Road Haulage Association, which is warning of months of disruption from January. Richard, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I suppose the first thing to say is there will be differences whether a deal is reached or not, won't there?
Look, there absolutely will be differences. Deal or no deal, these customs processes are going to have to come into play, and we're going to see significant disruption because of these new processes. I think from a food perspective, what's really interesting is that you've got the European food manufacturers who are effectively saying they have no confidence in the smooth flow of products through the short straits, the Calais Straits. And what they're saying is, look, we have title to those goods until we deliver them into the retailers in the UK. We are going to start to cut orders by about 50%. Because, we don't want to have to cover the write-off of that product, so you could have anything from, 30 to £100,000 worth of products on a trailer, and they don't want to be liable for that. So they're preparing themselves, and that's why, we're seeing a different, sort of approach from their perspective, and that's why we might see this impact in terms of supply come the new year.
Indeed, I did hear that. So just to be clear then, are they going to do that if there's a no-deal situation, or are they talking about doing that anyway?
They're talking about doing that anyway because,
okay.
I go back to what I said, deal or not, these processes have got to come into play. The only thing that will kind of save the day, as it were, at the moment is, if we do get a deal and that deal has an implementation period that allows business in both the EU and the UK to adjust to these changes in processes. The UK government have already provided easements, 6-month easements in terms of inbound. It's we need it, easements on the exports as well.
Do you think that will happen?
It's really, really hard to tell at this point, isn't it? I guess we were seeing improvements in terms of the negotiations over the weekend. It seems to have sort of, hit the decks. This could be the 11th hour kind of approach that everyone expected with the EU. But at the moment, it's not looking good. And, certainly for British hauliers that go to Europe, we still don't know whether or not we're going to have access rights, from next year at this stage. So, it's all hanging in the balance, really, isn't it?
So obviously there's going to be more forms, there's going to be declarations, there's going to be changes. Anyway, if there's a no-deal situation, what does that add on to the workload that you'll have to do?
Well, I think the issue that we're facing at the moment is these customs declarations that need to be completed. It's a bit like filling out your tax return for the first time, but 10 times more complicated. And we need customs agents to do that. And there's an enormous shortage of customs agents in the UK. So that paperwork is the biggest challenge, that we're facing, and that, therefore, in the event of no deal, we've got this issue where it kicks in from day one. The full customs process kicks in from day one, and so that's going to be an enormous burden on both traders and hauliers to be able to prepare and get that information together to transit. But like I said, for UK hauliers, their ability to go to the EU, they need permits. They're going to need ECMT permits to do that. We have 2,000 ECMT permits for 39,000 trucks. So we've got an enormous problem here in terms of being able to access. Now, government has said that for the first 6 months there'll be a glide path so that things remain the same, hopefully, and the EU would also agree to that, in return. So we'd have this window potentially where things would remain the same. But beyond that, we would have to find ways of accessing the market longer term.
Yeah, some people might say, look, it's in no one's interest to have disruption. Not Europe, not England, like nobody. So surely that it can't be beyond the wit of human beings to make sure that whether it's a glide path that you mentioned or whether there's another sort of quick fix that we can do to make sure things run smoothly, at least in the short term, and then we can find a way forward.
I think in the event of no deal, though, we talk about this full customs process being put into play in terms of UK exports, then, that's going to cause friction. It's definitely going to cause friction. We saw in Kent this last week when the French, frontier police started to do passport checks, we saw 5-mile queues.
We did.
And we've seen on the opposite side as well, those queues. We've also seen an increase in terms of migrant attacks. Only on Friday morning was a driver attacked in Calais. His windscreen was smashed and, bricks and boulders hit him while he was driving. This is what we're going to start to see again if we start to see, I guess, the queues and the delays. there are other spin-offs that come from this as well, Anna.
I see. So you think that if lorries are stuck in a queue, if they are stationary, they're more vulnerable in that sense?
Almost definitely. I mean, they're a sitting sort of target, I think it's inevitable that these things are going to start to reoccur, on a significant scale again.
I think it was Michael Gove who said that, haulage associations, lorry drivers, they needed to do their homework in terms of being ready for Brexit.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering whether there's enough information for you to do that homework.
Well, I think, again, it's a really interesting point, and I think there's been lots of critique sort of saying, look, you've known for some time, why aren't you getting yourself ready? Well, we've been asking for 3 years for a border operating model. We got that on, the end of July this year. There were so many gaps in it. There was a further iteration that needed to be released in October. And this border operating model tells you what to do, but it doesn't tell you how to do it. Oh. And because this is such a complicated process, we haven't had to fill out this level of documentation for 37 years, and we're literally starting from scratch. We haven't got sufficient clear information to be able to, take people through this. And again, the customs agents are the ones that would have the in-depth knowledge, and we've got insufficient numbers of those people to be able to really guide business through and prepare them.
As you see it, when do you think we could start to see delays? Because presumably there's a bit of a quiet period after January the 1st anyway. A lot of hauliers take a holiday, don't they, around then?
Well, I think volumes start to drop. We have a big push, usually in terms of sort of Christmas build, and then volumes start to peter off. I think, we're likely to start to see delays, possibly first, second week, in January. But I think it could be significant. The sense is, the preparation, the friction that's going to be caused, is challenging lots and lots of businesses. This issue of EU hauliers not coming to the UK, there's lots of different dynamics, that are playing out here. We don't really know exactly what this is going to look like until we're in it. Yes. If that makes sense, Anna. I think EU hauliers not coming to the UK either could also create further challenges in terms of supply of product into January and beyond.
Yeah, of course. And again, as you see it, do you think it is avoidable to have these delays, or do you think actually, no, it's too late, it's going to happen?
I think it's too late for that. And I think, in correspondence and conversations I've had with Michael Gove recently, that's exactly what we're saying, which is, look, we are where we are. We've run out of time. We haven't had sufficient time to prepare because you haven't given us the right information to be able to prepare. And we are going to have to deal with this, it's almost like, an operational disaster recovery sort of approach, in logistics and logistics distribution. When we have operations that start up from scratch and they fall over, you need to go into, this operational disaster recovery. And I think it's going to be akin to that for a period of time until we get things settled and people understand what the processes are.
And final point, Richard, but in your heart of hearts, do you think there will be a deal?
I was fairly optimistic, but that optimism is kind of waning at the moment. But I'm still optimistic that we can get that deal and hopefully get an implementation period, and we can deal with this. No matter what, we will find a way through this. There is no doubt about that. But fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Well, listen, keep in touch with us in the run-up to the 31st. Be good to talk to you again. That's Richard Burnett then, Chief Executive of the Road Haulage Association, with his assessment on where things are now.